Thank you very much for inviting me, and indeed, as speaker said before, this is really a fantastic opportunity to bring people together and to discuss, not just to be talked at, but to talk with. I will focus my presentation on 4 main points. One is the focus will be specifically on faculty, but more on graduate students. And they come from the results from a recently workshop that the Center for Innovation and Research organized and developed with the help of NSF money on establishing a research agenda and how to assess international collaboration at the graduate level. And second, my remarks come from several evaluations of NSF-funded IGOT programs with an international component. Now, IGOT programs are those flagship doctoral education, also NSF-funded, which focus on interdisciplinary projects like urban ecology, biodiversity, and so on. And third, they come from my many years as Associate Graduate Dean at the University of Washington, responsible for thinking about how to internationalize graduate education and being responsible for the international graduate students. So therefore, my remarks are on if we want sustainable international collaboration, they really must be built on trust and on mutual sustainable collaboration. Otherwise, they will be cut short very soon if they're not mutual benefits on the individual and on the institutional level. And trust takes time. It cannot be rushed immediately if we go there and want our results and analyze them, but take time to build relationships. And I will give some examples later. So what I see happening also at my institution, that I know with the really wonderful energy to create more international collaboration, universities buy these large data sets where they can find out who collaborates with whom. And my university has bought the Skyval, which is a Scopus data set, where you can see who else works on the same research topic around the world. And I did some informal investigation in my institution, and none of the faculty said I would ever use that, because I go to the conference, international conference, I meet there, I know who is the expert in the field, or I went to the other country and I know the people. So I'm not relying just on something where you can find and now there's a lot of money in these data sets where you think you can match them. So we must be at least knowledgeable about that, what they can do and what they cannot do. They can assess where an institution is, and that's very important. But using them for a lot of new ones, trust and mutual benefit. Second, I will talk, and I will give an example later, that if you do larger collaboration, which especially involve students, graduate students, and postdoc, you really need to start from the beginning with having a very comprehensive assessment framework. Because these assessment framework, which have formative and a summative, but specifically a formative component, you detect in the process when tension arises, tension because of different structures which don't match, tension because of the programs don't match, and tension because they're very different cultural behavior and different interpretation. And lastly, I will talk about institutions need to create room for post-assessment, for integrating what has been learned both in their curriculum, in teaching and learning, and also in how they treat the international visitors and international students. Otherwise, we always start from new and we rebuild the wheel instead of learning from each other. And in terms of international students, it means treating them as equals and not coming from a deficiency model which thinks they don't know English language, they don't know the culture and all of that, but they are really on the graduate level equals, and there can be in wonderful collaboration when we prepare our own faculty for going abroad to various countries. So let me go first. We find before we start, we really need to ask ourselves some essential questions. And these questions very much involve issues around what's the goal, what's the objective of it? Do we want to have international collaboration, to have better science, to improve better, create better scientists, better researchers in the long run, of course, with short-term goal and long-term goal? Or do we also include institution building and capacity building? Because that's something different, and we need to be transparent and really clear about it. These are also very important goals. They may be not always that they really bring better science at one institution, but we contribute, and I say contribute and not help. I think we need to get away from patronizing and helping, but contributing to institution building in countries which don't have had the possibilities and the resources. And therefore, we need to ask questions, what are our expected outcomes when we embark on that? What are our goals? And then really look at it, what are we actually getting? So what I propose is a simple framework of looking at before anything starts, during and afterwards. So before it starts, before the international experience, we really can prepare our students, faculty and researchers for the experience. And that can be specifically done by also integrating our international students from that country where the group is going, or our visiting scholars from the country, so we learn what's the context and the higher education system in the country. We need to know the background. And also know something about language. I would say, fortunately now, specifically engineering schools start again to require and help with foreign language training. We have done away and saying English is indeed on the graduate level the lingua franca. It's a wonderful expression in the world. But if you don't speak some of the foreign language, you will be really cut out a lot what's going informally. So think about, again, language training in times of globalization. So I give an example of really a very helpful pedagogical framework, which one of the IGATs actually now we use at the University of Washington quite extensively. How you can prepare and build trust, first among your own group who will go abroad and the faculty, but then also how you build that. What we start doing is so-called cross-border workshops, cross-border trips. Now, many of you live actually close to the border. We in Seattle live very close to the border to Canada, and take before the academic year starts a week with the graduate students who go abroad and the faculty. A week you do a project. Now, the example I will give is on the environment. So we go together, have a project to see how the US has policy rules, the biological issues about environment and forestry and so on. Move over to Canada and students will see there is quite a different perspective how you approach environmental issues. And then at the end of the week, the students present at one of the two Canadian universities what they found during the week. The result, when we assessed it, is that the students feel, I feel far more prepared now to go to another country and know, I need to be careful. There are different rules, policies, even if you speak the same languages. And it's really a trust building among the group, and also a trust building often in international collaboration. They're interdisciplinary. So what we then have done in a second term to prepare, we work with very advanced doctoral students from anthropology, who most of the time are well trained in international culture, and there have been research done. We have different research on culture, and also either business schools do those training for their students, and also with education students, and they're trained and they're co-taught to focus on two aspects. How do you communicate across disciplines, which is often done in these international collaboration, and how do you become prepared for different cultures, specifically going to cultures, non-Western culture, which had a prior colonial experience, because it's quite important to understand the impact of colonial experience. Or, for example, we have here one person from South Africa, to understand the impact of an apartheid system on the country. And most countries have some specific historical event which we need to know before we go there. Now, in order to train about differences in disciplines, what we do is the various students explain to each other what my home discipline, what we consider as knowledge, and how we go about to create knowledge. So we start understanding people from engineering, people from the biological science, people from the social science, and we practice in a kind of safe environment. And this combination of these two preparatory courses really helped and gave our own US students, and we always include as much as possible international students, a lot of strengths before they go out in another countries, say China or Chile or so on.
So were the students undergraduates and graduate students?
Sometimes we have undergraduate included, but it's mainly focused on graduate students, but we have undergraduate too. Then during the study, we make sure that also from the home institution, from the other institution, we're really in contact with our students and our faculty. Now we have a lot of good social media, so with the permission of them, we can use blogs, we can have online surveys, we knowing what's going on, and we can use other social medias like Skype it's now easy to be in contact. Now afterwards, what is most important that we create room really for assessing what has happened. Too often, I have heard, and I know for myself, when you come back, our students are very disappointed. No one is really interested what they have experienced, or also the faculty. So have really a big welcome celebration, and that speaks also about, rewards, seeing that they see that it's appreciated what they have done and what they learn, bring it back so we don't reinvent. And that means also we need to often think about how we treat our international students, our international guests, because abroad we are often treated, and someone in the report says so nicely, as stars. And I'm not sure if we always treat our international students or visitors as stars. And I want to give two cautions. One is when you go on and try to assess and measure what this international collaboration brings for the institution, don't fall in this, or the pitfall can be to measure only what's measurable. A lot in understanding needs quantitative research, qualitative research, that meaning you need to interview. You need to really talk to the people and understand. And two last issues I want to highlight is prioritize access. What I mean by that, we need to really make an effort to include our people of color and to include women. We heard just from our colleague Martin Finkelstein before that the majority are scientists. We still have not so many women scientists there in those fields. And we also don't have too many people of color in the science. So we really need to make an effort. And one of my colleagues, Catherine Zippel, has found in her research that in the international collaboration, too often white men are asked to participate, and one often assumes as an administrator, women have family obligations, they don't have time. Now, this need to be organized, that may be true, but that doesn't mean that they're not interested in going. So one have from the institution really think about also child support and structure and so on. And she proposes that we have a formal application process within our university for those who participate and not just asking someone. And lastly, I want to say, really focus on relationship building. And that, I said before, not rushing immediately on the results, but really focus on understanding your environment. That means ideally doing a joint proposal drafting of whatever you do with the other side, so things are transparent. And keep in mind that publication policies and also specifically around authorship can be very different and misunderstood. Be prepared for misunderstanding. And so it's really reciprocal and equal. And I want to close with a remark from one of my colleagues in South Africa who said, increasingly, universities from the West knock at our doors and say, we want to come, and they say we have exotic plants, exotic minerals, exotic people, but the administrator said, increasingly, we close the door because we are not exotic. And we don't want to just be seen as exotic and not be seen as an equal partner. Thank you very much.